Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Miss Sherry Kay. How are you
Hi.
doing today? You are
I'm
a
good.
surprise person.
I'm not Maureen.
Now, Maureen is feeling just a little under the weather, so we decided that I'd get somebody to help me out and I'd come on and do our little thing. She just twisted my arm. You know how that works.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, you twisted mine. It kind of went.
I'm good at it, though.
She strong
But
minded me.
yeah, I won't hurt you. I won't hurt you.
Yeah.
But
So,
I think we got a couple in here with us. Michelle, Mosaics and More. And we got Miss Daphne's Creative Touch. And we thank you ladies for spending your time with us. And if you missed it, Maureen is just a little bit under the weather. So Miss Sherry Kay agreed to help me out to take over and do this with me. Because I told Maureen I would, so I decided I better. Because if you don't know how Maureen is, you missed it, believe me.
yeah.
So
Hi,
this is
Michelle.
Friday,
And
Friday.
there's Gumdrop.
And I think you got off a little bit early today, didn't you, Sherry?
Yeah.
That's
There we
always
are.
nice.
I was
That's
looking for
all.
the comments. Hi,
Okay.
Gumdrop Forever.
Yes. Hello, Miss Gumdrop. How you this evening?
Choke
We're on
my.
at a different time at my request, so don't jump on Maureen about it because it was my idea. I'm not a morning person at all. I'm not. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. I get up in the mornings pretty early and I have coffee with the ladies, and then I'm just out of it. Just leave me
Hi,
alone until
Amy.
about 1 o'clock.
Well, I'm an early person because I have to be,
Yeah.
but
Well, I can if I have to be, but if
well,
I don't have to be, then I don't want to be. You know what I'm saying?
I do
Hey,
not like
Amy,
staying
love
up.
you, hon. Thank you for coming. But I don't like be doing the early thing. I really don't. I'd rather be in the evenings. That's just you know.
Thank you,
I,
Daphne.
yes, thank you so much. That's
I
just how I roll. So
I haven't made videos in a few years, but I still try to come up and help and whenever I
okay,
can.
she hasn't disappeared completely. We're not gonna let her do that. But
Oh,
when
I
she
won't
has
disappear.
crossed,
I won't disappear. I'll always be around.
whoop, there she is. She's in the
You're welcome. Hi,
comments.
Maureen. I hope you feel better.
Yes, I told you I would be here, so here it is. And it does
I'm
feel better at this time of day. I don't know.
I'm not really a Southern sister, but I was
Well,
raised in I was born in the North, raised in the South, so
well, that's close enough. You
I'm
got the
close
good
enough.
part of the South, anyhow. If you got your raising from us, you got just a little bit of the good part.
I,
Oh,
oh,
look who's here.
hi,
Miss
and
Bella in the
Sunshine
chat.
Bell.
Oh, how are you doing, lady? I hadn't seen you in a while.
Long time.
Hmm. Glad to see all the yins. And I hope everybody was just a little bit, just maybe a little tiny bit, intrigued by the title.
Well,
Uh-huh.
I know I was.
Well, you got to be a yanker, a rider, or a lifter. You're just one of the three, whether
Or
you
all
know it
three.
yet or not. So, if anybody does want to know what it is, we're about to get into it because I'm going to be reading just a little bit, and this will come from the Simply Crochet magazine, which is a UK based magazine. And the article that I want to read about is from Narissa, she is an Australian expat in the Netherlands. She
Thank you
grew
for
up in,
joining us, Christina. I know it's late there.
yes, yes. Oh, golly. You are staying up late, but hey, it's Friday night. So, you know, you'll be all right because you ain't got school tomorrow.
And
You
Michelle's
don't
working
work
on her
like
second chicken.
1:30. Surely, surely. But this lady, she grew up on a farm in South Australia. So sheep and wool are in her DNA, and she was taught to knit and spin as a child. And she says, I think I learned to crochet by osmosis. Over the years, she's developed all sorts of little tricks to level up her crochet skills quickly and easily. And she says, I cannot wait to share them with you. These tips will all help to make you a better crocheter with very little effort.
Hi, mobs.
Hey, M to the O to the B to the S. Thank you so much for joining in. And this is an article that this particular lady writes in the Simply Crochet magazine, and I have found that she does some really good tips and some insightful things. And I love to flip back through some of the old magazines and share with you because, like I said, I learned a couple of things from, from what she shared and showed me. So, you never too old to learn something new, ain't that right, Sherry? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
but
I'm older than you.
I keep being told that. I don't know, but I think sometimes I might have to forget something in order to learn something new. And I'm scared if I forget something, it'll be something I needed.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But it'll
hey,
always come back to you.
so far it's been worth it. All right. Now, I'm going to share a screen with you, ladies. And this should help you to visualize a little bit of what I'm going to be reading to you. Okay? Hang on just 1 second. I hope I got this right. There we are. Yes. Can we see it, Sherry Kay?
I can see it.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. It says you found the perfect pattern. You absolutely must make the design. You're so invested that you even make a gauge swatch. All this for you to only for you to discover. No matter how many hooks you try, you just cannot match the gauge stitch height
Hi, sweet
at
Millie.
last. Your perfect pattern looks destined for the bin. And if y'all don't know what it is, the bin is garbage over there.
Yeah,
So thank you, Melly, for joining us, honey. I hope you feel better. I
yeah,
really, really do. If y'all don't know it, Melly has tested positive for that old ugly C word. So if you would put her on your prayer list, her and her husband both matter are very, very sick. And they need all the prayers we can give them, okay?
absolutely.
Okay, well, your perfect pattern looks destined for the bin. Well, not anymore. I have the solution for you. The problem is most likely that you are what is called a yanker and the designer is a rider, or vice versa. But what does this mean? Ha ha, herein lies the secret. The secret is in the last loop left on your hook. When you've pulled up a loop, aka the golden loop, the tightness of this loop determines the height of your stitch. Too tight and the stitch will be short, meaning you're a yanker. And if you don't understand what that means, it means when you insert your crochet hook into the stitch and you pull up a loop, okay, when you pull your tension too tight on that, your hook is going to be pointing downward, like that
Oh,
first picture there where it
okay.
says the yanker. Your tension basically is too tight and it's going to pull it down and make your stitches smaller than they should be. Okay? All right.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yes, that means you're a yanker. Too loose and the stitch will be taller, which means you're a lifter, which is the bottom picture down there. It's not hardly too clear, but I did the best I could do. I tried it several times, and that's the best I got. The lifter means that you're way too loose and your hook is going to be parallel with the top of your work, straight across. Okay? That means you pulled that stitch up just loose enough where it's as tall as the rest of your work before you have even yarned over and pulled through the last time. Okay? So if your hook is pointing downward, you're a yanker. And if your hook is level with the top of your work, you're a lifter because you have pulled the tip of your crochet hook up and it's made you a lifter. Okay. But if it's roughly the same size as your other loops, if you look at those, you'll see that the top one, where that third loop that's on there, on the crochet hook, is pulled real tight. That's what's pulled that hook down. Okay. A rider has got it the same tension, the same size, same everything as the other loops on their hook. That's what makes you a rider. That's what you want to be, is a rider. Okay?
Definitely going to have to check it out.
It says this tightness will come from how you angle your hook toward your work. Actually, it's your tension that's pulling on the yarn and making those loops tighter or looser is what's allowing your hook to move. You know, that's what angles your hook toward your work or up from your work. It's the tension that you have pulled on your working yarn. Okay, your working yarn, not on the loops that you pull up. It's the working yarn because it's going to tighten everything that you got on that crochet hook or Tunisian hook or knitting needle or anything like that. Your tension on that working yarn is what's going to get you in trouble, or your looseness will get you in trouble every time. But now, also, if you are used to doing that, you're going to have to understand that you do it. You're going to have to know you do it. You're going to have to know how big you make your stitches. And you're going to have to know how to adjust that to match the pattern gauge that you're looking to match.
Yeah.
It's going to be different per every pattern, every designer. Everybody's just a little bit different. I don't crochet like Sherry Kay crochets. I don't crochet like Froggy crochets. I don't crochet like Maureen crochets. I'm a very, very tight crocheter. If the truth is known about it, I'm a yanker. Sue me, baby. That's all I know to tell you. I've tried and tried and tried to not do it, and I can't. That's just me. I'm a yanker. I'll die a yanker, and I'm proud of it. But I, at the same time, I realize that that's what I'm doing, and I know that I have to adjust my hook size to compensate for being a yanker, for holding my tension too tight. I have to go up in my hook sizes. But it says that tightness comes from how you angle your hook, which I disagree with. But too steep an angle will make the golden loop smaller. If the hook is parallel, the loop will be larger. And if the hook has just a slight angle, the loops will all be about the same size, which is the sweet or golden spot.
Yep.
Okay. For some insight into how these stitcher types affect your work, everybody look at the image of the 3 swatches together. All 3 of those have been made using the same hook and yarn, but with a different tension in the golden loop. You see how there's 3 different sizes to those swatches? That's what I was talking about. If you're a yanker, your tension is going to be very tight. If you're a rider, it should be just about right. And if
Yeah.
you're a lifter, you're going to be that white one in the back that is bigger than anybody else's. I had a best friend that I taught her how to crochet. And whenever she crocheted, she absolutely would be loose no matter how I tried to help her to hold her tension in her fingers and everything. She crocheted really, really loose. So if
Hmm.
she wanted to match gauge to go with anything, she had to go down in her crochet hook sizes. So if the pattern said, for instance, to use a J, she'd have to go down to a size I to get the same gauge as the pattern called for, as the designer made when she was creating the pattern.
Yeah.
You know,
I
there's a, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. I used to be a
There
really
is a
tight
big,
crocheter.
big difference in your tension, a very big difference. It will make a noticeable difference in all your work. It'll
Mm-hmm.
make a noticeable difference in your gauge swatches if you make them. I don't personally make them. I've never made them because I've learned over the years what my personal gauge is, I guess you could say,
Yep.
by what hook size I'm using. Even though if say the pattern says to use a size I know that I have to go up to at least a J. And that sounds really, really strange for somebody like Sherry also has been crocheting for a long, long time. So you know
Welcome in,
pretty much.
Angela.
Hey Angela, thank you for stopping. Um, if you know what you how you crochet, you know what your gauge is. Say like for double crochets. You know how many double crochets you're going to do to make an inch. Pretty much.
Mm,
Pretty much everybody does. About an inch, give or take a
approximate.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see,
And you know how many rows you're going to do to make a certain amount.
it's taken me a. I started doing a testing a pattern, and I realized I had to jump 4 crochet hook sizes up
Yes.
because I
Yes.
was such a tight crocheter, and I didn't realize
Absolutely.
I was.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't think that you are. You don't realize that you're doing it until you try to match somebody else.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily that you're wrong in the way that you crochet. It's not that you're messing up because
No.
you're too
No.
tight of a crocheter. It's just because you're trying to match
Trying to
somebody
match
else. So
their
don't think now
gauge.
we're saying, ooh, I do mine this way, so I'm right. And ooh, she's wrong. No, no,
No.
no, 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 no. It's
No.
not that. Everybody is different. Everybody. And I don't care how long you've been crocheting.
Welcome in, me,
Everybody
Maudie.
is different. Yes, thank you, Dee. Thank you. I mean, Dawn, thank you for coming in. Uh, all of us learn at one point or another if we are a tight crocheter or a loose crocheter just by looking at somebody else's work and thinking, ooh, I don't look like that. Ooh, what am I doing different?
Yep.
And it could be in the size of yarn that you're using. Now I can use a bulky yarn, and I'll crochet it so tight that it ain't worth messing with. I mean, I'll have it where it's just curled in on itself. If I'm trying to make a little square, it don't come out a square; it comes in a little cup because it just. I mean, it's awful. And if I notice that I'm doing it, I try to physically
Loosen up.
remind myself, stop it, stop
Yep.
doing that. And I will, when I have, let's see, I'm trying to find piece of yarn. Okay. When I have my working yarn like this, I put it over my pinky and over my finger, my pointer finger. And that's how I hold my working yarn. And it slides like that
Yep.
in my hand. Okay. And when I realize that I'm absolutely making it so tight that it's not going to work for anybody or anything, I will drop that yarn off of my little finger. It makes it just slightly looser in tension. That's what I do personally. And I have to make myself realize don't tighten that finger up. Don't tighten it down so that you can't let it slide through there. But I know too that I can go up in hook sizes and it'll change it. But if I'm working with bulky size yarn, you can only go up so big. I've got one of these great old big hooks.
Exactly, Don. Let's see. When I started doing the amigurumi that we all started,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this as tight as I can possibly let my fingers do, only
Uh-huh.
because I don't want the stuffing coming through.
That's a good thing too. Yes.
But for
Absolutely, Dawn. It is not wrong.
the blanket I
It's
did,
just different.
it's much looser.
And that is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. I
Gorgeous.
mean, it is visibly much looser.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I used an H or an I.
Uh-huh.
So,
If you realize that you're doing it, you can change your tension
yeah,
by loosening how you hold it in your hand. Or if you just absolutely find that you can't hold the yarn that way, it's not going to work if you change it, change your hook size. But if you're working with bulky yarn and you've got the biggest hook you can find, working with that bulky yarn, you're not going to be able to go up high enough to make it
no,
be loose.
no,
So you've got to do something with that tension hand.
yeah, you definitely have to.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
like I said, I noticed doing that. I did two of her test patterns for her.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was just a hat, and I could not get her gauge. I tried and tried and tried. And I finally said, well, I've got to go up a hook size just to see if I can get it. Still
Uh-huh.
couldn't get gauge.
Yep.
I mean, I never realized how tight I crocheted until I finally stopped and I heard the yarn squeaking.
Yep. That too.
And I said, wow, what? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
just
It,
went up
it, it
and
makes a
I've
difference.
loosened up so much in the last 10 years
Yep. Yep.
that,
I'm a lot looser now than I used to be as far as my tension, and I can recognize when I'm really tight and make myself loosen up. You got a bug trying to get up your nose or
yeah,
something?
your little gnat came up all the way up north.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm telling you. Okay. Don
Don,
has got a
Don,
good question. Good
Don,
question.
Don says, Connie, I am a tight crocheter and cannot make a hat with stretch to save my hiney. Even with a bigger hook, any suggestions?
It could be the size yarn that you're using or the type yarn that you're using. A lot of full weight yarns that most people would use to make up a hat because of the rigidity that you want to have when you have a hat sometimes, depending on what style you make. The full weight yarn does not stretch that much. It's not going to give very much. So I would say go on up bigger hooks That's just about the only thing I can tell you other than change your yarn type. If you can change your yarn into something that's not a value yarn or a 4 weight, maybe go down to a DK. That would help a lot because it is a smaller yarn. You're going to have different tension through your hands than what you would with the 4 weight yarn because, like there again, it's the different size in the yarn, and it'll make a difference in the type yarn that you use. A
Yeah.
roving yarn is going to stretch quite a bit, but a value yarn is not going to stretch that
No.
much. It's not going to give very much. So you'll have to be the reason that it's bigger. You'll have to go up in your hook sizes until you get to the size that you need to make it as big as you need it to be. It's not going to stretch
And
that much.
some stitches have more give than others.
Yes, they do.
Depending on-
Absolutely. The bigger stitches that you use, for instance, if you're making a hat with all single crochets, it's not going to give. That bad boy is how you crochet it is, how it's going to be. It's not going to stretch, period. Very, very, very little, if any at all. But now, if you're using a double crochet or a triple crochet or anything bigger than that, then yes, it's going to give quite a bit. But it's not necessarily the yarn giving so much as it's the stitch giving because you've created that extra loop in your stitching. It's going to have a little bit that it can give. And if you've got 2 loops that you created in your stitching, it's going to give that much more because it's like a spring. It's got that little bit that it can move. So you might want to change the size of your stitching. That is a good point, a very good point. And that'll work with the value yarns. Like, for instance, if you're making a crochet hat, a boggin, what I call a boggin, or a beanie, whatever. If you're using double crochets and you just can't get it, it's not working, try treble. Try that.
And
See
it's
how that
okay to change the stitches.
Yes. Only you can see if you're too tight or too loose, if
Right.
you're trying to match somebody else. Otherwise, you're doing it perfectly fine.
That's right.
If you're matching somebody else, that's when you say, mine's not the same. What, you know, it's only wrong if you're trying to beat somebody else's, doing the same thing. I hope maybe some of that will help you a little bit anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes a difference, the fiber of the yarn. Wool is not going to stretch very much simply because of its wool. It's not made to stretch very much. That's the reason that when you felt it, it shrinks. It's just the nature of the yarn itself. It's because it's an animal fiber. Just like cotton is a plant based fiber, it's going to stretch. It's going to stretch quite a bit. But when
Yep.
it gets wet, it's going to go back little. Not maybe as little as it was originally, but it's going to shrink back down. And then you can stretch it again the next time. You can do that several times with cotton, but you're not going to do that with wool. Once you felted it, once it's shrunk, it's there. You're not going to get it back out, period. Acrylic is not so much stretching or giving as it is breaking the fibers down inside the acrylic. The
Right.
acrylic, when it's made, is woven, not woven, um, when it's brushed. Somebody that, oh, Michelle's mosaic, she spins yarn. When you when you brush it out, you're straightening those fibers up. They'll be all one direction and they're laying straight. That's so when you begin spinning it, you're letting it pass through your fingers and you're pulling those fibers apart a little. Okay. But the more you pull them, the thinner that yarn's going to get.
Yep.
Right. And it's not necessarily that the fibers are stretching, it's that you're pulling them apart. And it's going to make the yarn break instead of stretch, where cotton stretches. Now, you don't get me in on the,
The
what do you call
blends
it,
and
chemistry and enzymes and all.
yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you all that stuff. This is just from my opinion, my personal experience. Anybody else could be different, could be really different as far as that goes. And it makes a big difference between crocheters, the way you crochet, the type yarn that you're using, and the project itself that you're making.
Welcome
You
in,
know,
Maritza.
thank you, Maritza. Hola. Appreciate you stopping by. And don't ask me to speak any more Spanish because
Yeah.
that and agua is about all I know.
Can we get some more thumbs up here?
Yes, please, ladies. That does really, really
It
good for
really does help.
Maureen's channel. It'll help her out quite a bit. And that's the reason I'm doing this, is to help Maureen, not for me. Because it don't matter to me whether I get any views or whatever. But all this is for Maureen. She's doing her level best to get her channel up where it should be. And so she can help everybody with her teaching and crocheting. Okay. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I try my best to find something that I didn't know to share with you guys. And that yanker, rider, or lifter stuff is something I've never heard before. I was like,
Me neither.
oh, what?
You don't even want to. You do not want to know what I said.
Well, that didn't have nothing to do with crocheting either. So we won't go there.
But I think
But
that could be the same thing for knitting too, don't you think?
absolutely, whether you're crocheting, doing Tunisian work, knitting, it's all the same. It depends on your tension
Mm.
and whether or not you're pulling that loop up. If you're pulling it up, it's too much. You're going to be bigger than it should be. If you've got to yank down just as tight as you can hold it, then it's going to be smaller. And if you're just working even with it, then it's going to come out the same every time.
Hi, Tracy.
Woo woo! That is Miss Hot Tea. Woo! Hot stuff. Thank you,
All
ma'am.
the way from across the pond.
Oh, she may have already heard about this. Have you ever heard about being a yanker or a rider or a lifter, Tracy? Have you ever heard that before? I hadn't until
No,
I saw it in this magazine.
I didn't know. And I haven't even opened any of the magazines lately.
Oh my goodness. I
I've just been,
love crochet magazines. I really
oh, I do
do.
too. I got piles of them, but I have not had,
You don't have time, honey.
I
Lord.
haven't had 5 minutes.
From somebody that works all day long, every day, in the business that you work in, and then come home and feed animals and water animals and make dinner and wash clothes oh Lord, I don't know how you have time to go to bed, let alone crochet. You blow my mind, woman. You blow my mind.
Well, I don't
I
get a
can't.
lot done on crochet, but it's slow
Oh
going.
yes, you do. You are so fast. You get stuff done faster than anybody I believe I've ever
Oh,
seen.
okay.
You know.
Okay. You just think so.
See, even Tracy said so. You're always busy.
I am busy.
Yes,
I,
always.
I, I, I keep myself busy.
You come in and crochet for just a little while, and then you jump up. Oh, I gotta go feed the animals, or oh, I need to go make dinner, or what? No, it's time to go to bed already. You know.
Well, I can retire in 10 years, so
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
cool. That'd be nice. That would be very nice. But
And I'm
yeah,
and I'm
I
watching the clock.
oh, always, always. I know you are. I know you are, because it's just from the time you get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you're running wide open. I mean, I can't imagine. But me being disabled, I can't do much
Well,
of
for the
anything.
first 2 hours, I don't do nothing but sit here and crochet.
Well, that's the only time you get to be by yourself, you
Yeah,
know? And you're sitting there crocheting every morning, and we're just, enjoying the cup of coffee or Dr. Pepper for me, and just
Yeah.
enjoying the morning together, taking a few minutes, and all at once you holler, "Oh, I got to go. It's time to go to the barn," and the rest of us are sitting there like, "What barn? Where? We ain't got a clue."
You
But
see it in
yeah,
passing.
I'm sorry.
I said you see it in passing occasionally.
Oh yeah, yeah. You show it to us. That's about the only time we see a barn. The rest of us don't. I sure don't. Because, like I said, me being disabled, I do good to get out of this room. I mean, look around. You see my world right here.
I'll have to send you pictures because I definitely am not packing up those goats and bringing them to Florida.
No, I hope not. For Pete's sake, Lord have mercy. Nah, I don't. I don't think that would be a nice trip. That wouldn't be a good vacation if you brought them with you. So, but yes, it's you're not doing anything wrong when you can't match another designer's gauge. You're
No,
not
you're
doing
not doing anything wrong.
no.
Mm.
And the only time that you will, quote unquote, be doing something wrong is if you are trying to match somebody else. But I can tell you, like I always say, if it's hard, you are doing something wrong. Crocheting is not hard at all. It
No,
is fun, it's enjoyable, it's relaxing. It's a lot of things, but it's not hard. You're just There'll be a reason that it's hard. I'll just say that.
yeah,
There's many, many, many of them. But if you get somebody to maybe watch you for a few minutes, another crocheter, they may see something that you're doing that they can say, hmm, have you ever tried da 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 da?
yeah,
You know, and you would never have known that you could try something different unless you heard it from somebody else. If
right.
you've only learned one way to do things, then you're absolutely missing out on a lot of life. Believe me, not just with crocheting, but it makes a
Many things.
difference.
Many
Makes a
things.
big difference. Yeah, and it's you know uh, there's a lot of things you can learn later on in crocheting. You don't necessarily have to learn everything in the first 6 months you pick up a hook. Don't think you're going to,
I'm
because you're
still
not.
learning.
You're
I've been
not.
crocheting. I'm 58. I've been
Yeah.
crocheting since I was 10, 12,
Something. Yeah.
and I'm still learning stuff. I'm not a,
Well,
I'm not ashamed to say there's a lot of stuff I don't know.
me as well. I don't know everything. I'll tell you right quick. I have no clue about some things. There's a lot that I know from experience more than anything,
Yep.
and having maybe a problem with something. Like if I couldn't match somebody's gauge, how can I do that to make it right? And I would go to my public library back in 2010. I would go to the public library and I would look
Thank
it
you
up.
for coming, Melly.
Thank you, Melly.
Love you.
I'd go to public library and I would look it up. I would read books about it. I would ask questions of other people that crochet. Have you ever done da 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 and it had this happen? Yes, no, whatever. And get their experience from it. I mean, that's
Yep.
crocheting is an experience based hobby. Somebody had to teach you
Yeah.
somewhere along the line. You either saw somebody doing it and you thought, I can do that. You're not self taught. You're not born knowing how to crochet. You either saw somebody do it, you read how to do it, or you watched videos on how to do it. Somebody somewhere showed you how to do it or told you how to do it.
I have to tell you a little story.
Go ahead, please do.
My granny taught me how to single crochet and double crochet.
Uh huh.
when I did my first treble crochet, I was like, ooh, I just
Mm.
made my own stitch. Then I went and I bought a book, and guess what was in that book?
Uh-huh.
Treble crochet. Ah,
Yeah.
darn.
There's probably not a stitch or a stitch pattern that hasn't been used somewhere
Yep,
at some time along the
yep.
line.
Well,
And
you
I
know,
would
12,
say,
13 years old, you're making your
yeah, well, I would say in 10 years, we'll say 10 years, if a stitch pattern falls by the way, and 10 years later, somebody else picks it up, just experimenting, and they create that stitch. It's not necessarily a new stitch, but it's not an old one by that time either.
it's
After
a
10 years of
revised
nobody
stitch.
using it, then by all means, say I created this stitch. It's
Yeah,
about time you got in here. Mm-mm. You're in trouble.
yeah,
Mm-mm,
you definitely in
trouble.
trouble.
But that, like I said, there's probably not a stitch or a stitch
Yeah,
combination that hasn't been used at some
right.
point or another.
I mean, there's a lot of stitches that you don't see very often today. Take the bullion.
No, hardly ever.
Now, I practiced and I practiced and I practiced, still can't get it.
No, I'm not good at it either. I am not good at it at all. I'm just
I
kidding.
cannot do it.
And there's what is a puff stitch?
I know you hate them. I love puff stitches.
There's a million and one ways to do a puff stitch. It doesn't matter if you yarn over and pull up a loop twice or 15 times, it's still a
A
puff
puff
stitch.
stitch.
So, some is just a little easier than others, but it's still a puff stitch. Okay. Did the person that decided just to pull up twice have a new stitch? Or the person that said, hey, what if we go 4 or 5 more times with this and make this just a little harder, or a little fluffier, a little thicker? Did they make it up a new stitch?
Not really.
That's up to the person that's looking at it. Personally,
Yeah.
I think, but there's a lot of stitches that have changed over the years and had the same name. You know, um, like the V stitch. V stitches are a double chain one double. They're also a double chain two double. They're also two
Right.
doubles, chain one, two doubles, or two doubles, chain two, two doubles. It's a million and one different combinations, but
Yep.
they're all still a V
Yeah.
stitch.
You could put 3 doubles.
Yeah, and it's
It's
still
still
a
a
V
V.
stitch.
It's still a V
All
stitch.
that is just what the designer wants to call it.
Right.
They haven't necessarily made up a new stitch, but there again, do you say you did? If you stick another double crochet on that thing, is it a new stitch? Maybe it's
No.
a two double crochet V stitch. Maybe it's a three or a four or whatever, you know. But is it a new stitch? That's up to some speculation, we'll say. I'm not going to say yes, it is a new stitch, and I'm not going to say no, it's not, because there again, there's a lot of stitches that haven't been used in 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
And somebody starts back using them, but does that make them new? Or did you say something? Oh, I thought
No.
you were
No.
okay. Well, the bullion stitch, explain to Miss Tracy what that is, if you
I'll,
can.
I'll try and show a picture.
That's like a popcorn. There's a million and one ways to make a
Yeah.
popcorn. Everybody knows pretty much everybody knows what a popcorn stitch is. But is it a 3 double crochet popcorn? Is it a 4 or a 5 or a 6? Does it make it a different stitch if you use 3 or if you use 6? That's up for speculation. That's up to the eye of the beholder, we'll say. The difference between a puff and a popcorn is a big, big difference. A puff stitch, a puff stitch is all whatever stitch you're using, whether it be a double or a triple or whatever, or even a single I have seen. The puff is made all in the same stitch so that it's either from the front or the back, it's going to be protruding. Okay. A popcorn stitch is where you make a certain number of doubles or trebles or whatever the case may be, is according to the designer. And on the last one, you're going to pull up a loop. Pull your loop up real big or bigger. And you're going to remove your hook. You're going to go back to the very first stitch that you made in that grouping. They all go into the same stitch, but you go back to the first one and you insert your hook into that stitch. You're going to reach around the back side of it. You're going to put that loop back on your hook and pull your working yarn, tighten it back down on your loop, on your hook, and you pull it through. Okay, that's going to pull all those stitches together and it's going to make it protrude. But there is a difference between whether or not you remove your hook, put it in that stitch and pull that loop in there and pull it in there tight, or if you just put them all in the same stitch and it makes it stick out. Because the sticking out, you can go from front or back. You can use your finger to kind of poke it and make it stick out one side or the other.
Yeah.
Popcorn, you're not going to do. It's only going to go toward the back side of your work.
Right.
From you, the back side from you to your work.
Tracy, I put a link in the chat for the bullion stitch.
Okay, wonderful. And Nastasia is a wonderful teacher,
Yes.
I think, personally. I love to watch her. She is so calm about her way of teaching. She don't get excited, and she don't speed up. She's just
one speed
and teaches. Yep, she just teaches. But yeah, there's a difference between a puff stitch and a popcorn stitch. A bullion, I think, is where you put all the loops around a stitch that's already made.
Something like that. It looks like beads. I couldn't figure out how to share. So
it's a beautiful, beautiful stitch.
It is beautiful,
and it's an old stitch. Yep. There's not a lot of it used because it is somewhat of a yarn eater, and
very much.
It's like a puff stitch. It uses a lot of yarn over, hit the stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over, it's pull up. It's over and over and over on your hook, and then you've got to pull through them. It's like no man's business. I hate it. I hate that. I don't know why, but I can't hardly stand it. And a puff stitch, I would rather pull my hair out by the roots. It's have to do a puff stitch. But now I can do popcorn all day long. I can do puff stitches. Not puffs. Yeah, no. What is that we were just saying? Where we put all the stitches in the same one. Puff and a popcorn. Yeah, it is a puff, ain't it? Is that a puff? Am I telling it right? I may be lying. Up one side and down the other. Lord have mercy.
Well,
Let's see.
you have your bobble stitch, you have your puff stitch, you have your what's the other one?
Maybe I'm thinking of a bobble.
Popcorn.
Popcorns, bobbles, puffs. Um, good grief. Like double crochets together. Um, anything but where you yarn over, insert in the same stitch, pull up a U-loop, yarn over, insert in the same stitch, pull up a loop, and on and on and on, and then you've got to yarn over and pull through all of them. That's the one I don't like. Whatever you want to call it, that's the one I don't like. Ooh, yeah, they do, Tracy. Use that stitch in the Sophie's Universe. You do.
Yep.
And then a bobble, if I'm not mistaken, a bobble is the one
You
that
take
I
the
was
hook
saying.
out and pull from the.
No, that's the popcorn, right? Or is it?
I don't know. I just know what I have to look it up each time.
Hang on, now, too. We'll look this up. Now, this will be according to Deidre Eulis. Okay. Everybody, you can look up a stitch 15 times according to 15 different people, and you're going to get 15 different answers.
Yeah.
It's only according to the person that has designed the pattern. I don't know how many times I've had to stress that to people. Look and see what they say do. Don't go by what you know. Go by what they say do. If you're making their pattern, you've got to do what they want you to do. Not what you know, what they want to know. They know what they want you to do, what they're telling you you've got to do to replicate and make what they made.
Exactly.
So you could have a million different definitions. You've got to read your pattern. You've got to know what that designer said to do. Okay? All right, let's see. What was it? A puff and a bobble and a what?
Popcorn.
With grief. Da 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 da. Well,
We've all had that happen, Tracy. And then you take it out, you redo it, get it stuck, and you wiggle it through.
okay. A popcorn stitch, according to Deidre, which is the designer of Sophie's Universe, if you're not familiar with her name. She does have her own website. If you want to look her up, that would be wonderful. She
So,
says you make 5 double crochets in the same stitch. Then you remove your hook from the last stitch, insert it into the first double crochet of the 5 double crochets. Grab the last stitch with your hook, pull it through the first one, and chain 1 to close the popcorn. Okay? There's a big difference between doing all that and that chain 1. You better read your designer's notes. You better read what they say that stitch is. Okay? Now, what did we say? A popcorn and a what?
Hold on. I'm doing whatever the one you just did.
The popcorn. Okay.
Okay. So take that out.
Take it out. You put your hook
1,
into
2, 3,
the
4,
first
5.
double crochet.
There.
Put that loop back on your hook.
There.
You pull it
tight.
through that first one and you chain 1.
And
That's this particular designer's popcorn stitch. Okay? A puff stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook into the specified stitch or space. Yarn over again and pull up a long loop. That's where you get the Yanker thing from. You're going to pull up that loop and do it on purpose. Okay? You pull up a long loop, yarn over and insert your hook into the same stitch or space. Yarn over again and pull up a long loop. You do that 3 more times. So when you're done, you're going to yarn over and pull through all 9 loops on your hook.
And don't lose it.
And don't lose that loop. Yeah, that's part of why I hate it. Yeah, you got that part?
Hold on. All 9. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Then you're going to chain 1 to close it. That's a puff stitch. All right. Now we're going to look back here and see what a bobble was for Miss Leslie of the corner. Bobble, bobble, bobble. We got blocking. This will join. This man, I don't know if this got bubbles in it or not. That. No, it does not. Would you believe that? Stuffy's Universe does not have a bobble. Does not have a bobble. I thought it did, but it does not. Maybe it's on that.
Let's see what Google says.
See what the Yarn Council has to say it is. Because Deidre does not put one into Sophie's Universe.
Okay.
You don't always do what I tell you to do, Leslie.
Okay. This says wrap your yarn over the hook. Insert the hook into the specified stitch. Yarn over the hook. Draw the yarn through the stitch so that there are 3 loops on hook. Yarn over. Draw through 2. Yarn over. Go through the stitch. Grab 1. Yarn over. Go through 2 more. Yarn over, and it all depends on how many times the designer says to do it. 2
exactly.
More. I've got 4 stitches. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to close.
And now to me, that would be a double crochet however many together. But certain designers call it by a different name. Is it a different stitch? Yes, because they gave it a different name.
Right.
We'll say that. We'll say that because, like I said, it may have been something they do slightly different in their pattern. You have to read the explanation. And it's pretty. It's pretty. Yeah, I know you try to listen, Leslie. You try to. Try being the key word there. But yeah, there's a lot of stitches that are different, a lot that are the same. Each designer is different. The names of their stitches might be different. And it might be something that you already know, but the name is different. Okay. But it all comes back down to your tension, whether or not you're a yanker, a lifter, or a rider. Okay.
Yep.
You're a good little grasshopper. Yeah, I guess so. We'll give you that. We'll give you that. Sometimes you're a pretty good little grasshopper. Oh me. But ladies, we have been on here for an hour today, and Maureen does all her best to twist my arm to be on here for an hour, so we're out of here. I love you all. Thank you so very much for stopping in here today, because your time is precious and we appreciate it no matter what. And, if you can, be kind to somebody, because it's not only going to change you, It'll change the world. Bye, ladies. Y'all have
Bye.
a good weekend, and we love you.